All right, so our sages teach us that we have to follow the ways of Hashem. As it says, "Ve'alachta b'drachav," we must follow the ways of Hashem. How do we follow the ways of Hashem? Ma'u rachum, afata rachum. Like Hashem is compassionate, we should also be compassionate. Ma'u chanun, just like Hashem is giving, we should also be the same. Ma'u malbish ha'omim, just like Kadosh Baruch Hu clothes Adam and Chava in the beginning, he gave them clothing. We too should go ahead and perform mitzvot of tzedakah to bring and give the needy clothing. Mahu kover metim, just like Kadosh Baruch Hu buried people, as it said about Moshe Rabbeinu, vayikbor oto bagai, buried himself. Hashem buried Moshe Rabbeinu. Mahu mevaker cholim, just like he visits the sick. Kadosh Baruch Hu came to visit Avraham Avinu when he was ill from the Brit Milah. We too should visit the ill. We should do the mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. But we also learn that Kadosh Baruch Hu is also Menachem Avelim. He also comes to console the mourners. As we see in this week's parasha, Sarah passes away and Avraham is in a state of mourning. And Chazal teach us that he was comforted by Hashem, Kivyachol, so to speak. Hashem comes, the divinity, the Shekhinah comes and visits Avraham Avinu to console him. So we learn the greatness of these mitzvot, but also the greatness of the mitzvah, which is still unique in its sensitivity to halakha, to be buried in the ground. Says the Shlach Kadosh. What is it about being buried in the ground? First of all, it's halakha. But it comes from the pasuk, Ki afar ata ve'el afar tashuv. You are, that we came from afar. We were formulated in the very beginning from the afar, from the soil of the earth. Says the Shlach Kadosh, because we were formed from the soil of the earth, the Midrash says that God took soil from all corners of the world, and with all that he made Adam. That's why we have a belonging to any continent in the world. But just like we were made from the soil, there's something in that relationship that we're inseparable. And so until 120, when we come back to the soil, it is a healing dynamic, and it's something that is just natural because of where we came from. But Rabbi Zalman Sorokin wants to say that Avraham Avinu cried for Sarah, mourned for Sarah, and gave eulogies to Sarah. Now the Gemara says, Gimel yamim lebechi, Shiva yamim leesped. There's 3 days that the mourners, they have emotion and excitement, and there's more bechi, there's more sobbing and crying in the first 3 days. And then you have 7 days that we know, right, of Shiva. What do they do in the Shiva in the 7 days? They mourn for the deceased, but they also perform tanchumin, they also perform eulogies, they say the good things about the deceased. Well, what happened with Avraham Avinu? He came, lispod l'Sarah ve'livkota. He came to eulogize over Sarah, and then he came to cry over Sarah. So what did he do first? The eulogy, then the crying. But the Gemara says that normally the crying is there predominantly in the first 3 days, then the eulogy. So Chazal teaches that he didn't cry a lot. The small hey, veliv kota, he didn't cry a lot. He cried, but minimally. How is it that Avraham wouldn't cry a lot over Sarah? She was a prophet. She's the one that did most of the mitzvot. She did the hachnasat orchim. She taught people Torah in the tent. She did everything. She was the icon of everything that he worked for. And the answer is, Sarah, the loss of Sarah wasn't just a personal loss for Avraham Avinu and his home and his family, rather a loss for klal umot, like for the world. Because she's the one that taught the world loving kindness and giving and welcoming and hosting and teaching and everything else. So Avraham Avinu said his own pain, his own tears, he could put on hold. Now he understands the big loss to the whole entire world. So he put his to the side and he looked at the loss for the entire world. And that shows us indeed those halachot, but also that a tzaddik and their value and what they leave onto the world expands beyond their immediate family, their immediate space. And that gives us inspiration. If we know something, if we have something to share our values, to share our knowledge, to share our energy, to share ourselves with those around us, B'ezrat Hashem, to emulate the ways of Imotenu and Avotenu, B'chol Hanei L'Olam. Amen.
Amen.